And that's kind of where I was going in my head is, I didn't plan on going skeet shooting with my shotgun. I bought it, and I basically knew what I was buying it for.
Hey there, welcome to New Gun Guy 2020. My name is Troy, and you are awesome for watching this. My wife Amy and I, this past year, joined the ranks of 5 million people that became first-time gun owners. On this channel, I will document our journey, coming at this thing like a noob that I am. I'm not an expert, but I hope to interview some. Ultimately, I hope to ask questions and get good answers for us new gun owners. Bottom line is, shooting is a ton of fun, especially with someone that you care about. I'm glad you're joining me on this journey. New Gun Guy 2020.
All right, hey everyone, Troy from New Gun Guy 2020. I'm here with Bill, who has forgotten more about firearms than I'll ever know.
That's a high compliment.
Thanks for being here, man. So we first met at our church a number of years ago. You were on the safety and the security team.
Correct.
And I was helping out with technology. So I knew you were a gun guy. And then somebody said, well, he works retail too. He sells at a store. And then I've come to find out you also do firearms instruction.
Correct.
Cool. Very cool. So I bought my first gun this last year, and because you sold it to me.
Yes.
And it happened to be a shotgun, which I don't think I even had a permit to purchase a pistol at that point. But I just knew, and you had just started working at a store that was opening up, and I knew you guys were going to have it there. And I won't get into brands and stuff because I'm not about that. But all that to say is I came in and it was a 3-hour wait, but it was worth it because I got the shotgun that I've been looking for that was sold out everywhere else.
Well, I'm honored to sell you your first gun and subsequent guns after that.
So something was interesting, and when I mentioned to other people that were gun people, I said, hey, I'm thinking about buying a shotgun for home defense. I actually had more experience with a shotgun. In Boy Scouts we did skeet shooting, and so I didn't really know handguns, so I thought, I'm going to start with something I know. And a lot of people are like, whoa, you don't want a shotgun for home defense. It's way over the top. And I came in and you didn't steer me away from it, which I appreciate. So you helped us get into our first handgun as well. We had gone to the range with a friend, so we had shot a bunch of different handguns, knew that we wanted probably a striker fire, something a little bigger, because we were just going to use it for range and home defense. And you turned us on to a gun, and it was another purchase that we made at your establishment.
Correct.
There. We since took a class from you, concealed carry class. Explain that real quick, because there's a term concealed carry.
Sure. So back in 2003, when Minnesota went from a may issue state, meaning that if you meet all the qualifications, that the sheriff may issue you a permit to carry, to a shall issue state,
okay,
which means that if you meet the qualifications, they must issue you the permit.
Right.
And the reason for that was there's a little bit of discrepancy between the metro county sheriffs and the outlying sheriffs in the state, and so the state legislature wisely corrected that issue with becoming a shall issue state. And Minnesota did a very good job in writing the law. And where other states are concealed carry states, we are a permit to carry state, meaning that we can carry openly, we can carry concealed. I recommend concealed. Don't aggravate the public that don't appreciate guns the way we do, but also for the element of surprise, if there's a threat in the vicinity, that number one, I'm not the first one picked off, and second of all, I've got the element of surprise as well as security from it as well.
So you can carry, and then the conceal part is kind of up to you.
It's at your discretion, and I would say most people do, and I would
Right.
encourage people. But the technicality there in the law, Troy, is that for example, if you're pumping gas and the wind blows your shirt up, and all of a sudden part or all of your gun is exposed or whatever, you're not breaking the law.
I know this last year was just kind of a crazy year in general. We had a lot of different things kind of going on all at one time. Has this country gone gun crazy?
This year, I think, was significantly different. So, and let's look at those differences. If we go back a couple of years, to say 2012, the election back then.
Yep.
If we look at what the number of NICS background checks were, the National Instant Criminal Background Checks that when you purchase a gun you're required to go through, we had 19.6 million applications that year, and compared to the prior year, which was not an election year, that was 19% more than what we had previously.
Okay.
Now let's go forward to the 2016 election.
Right.
In that year, and the number of background checks have steadily grown since 1998 when that was implemented. But the number in 2016 was about 27.5 million.
Okay.
Coincidentally, that was also 19% greater than what we had. So now let's fast forward to 2020. We had 39.7 million applications. And compared to 2019, that was over 11 million more, for
Wow.
about a 40% increase. So we went from 19% to 40%. Well, there were some things last year that I think we have to take into consideration. First of all and foremost, we had the COVID. Second of all, we had the impact on the economy right after that.
Yep.
Okay? And I would say, just as a side note, let's be thankful that our economy was in great shape, because if it wasn't as in good of a shape when we went into it, we would really be devastated as a nation right now.
Yeah, things are going pretty well economy-wise.
They were.
Yeah.
So we come out of the COVID and the furloughs, so to speak, and trying to recover the economy. And in late May, I think it was May 25th, we had the George Floyd incident.
Yes.
And subsequent to that, we had the rioting. And with the George Floyd incident, yeah, it was a local incident, but it had a national impact for us. And the subsequent rioting went on for a number of months, and in some places still is. And the other thing that I'm seeing is that we've got a very extreme political environment this round compared to years past.
Sure.
And I think we've also seen a shift in moral and constitutional values that are taking place in our country right now. So we've got a lot of dynamics going on right now with in our nation. So was it a crazy year? Yes, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, do we talk a little bit about the lawlessness and the people talking about defunding the police, and just the number of calls that they're receiving, especially in the urban area, the response time for people, I think they're realizing, wow, I can call the police, but they may not get to me before something bad happens. And that's kind of where I was going in my head is, I didn't plan on going skeet shooting with my shotgun. I bought it, and I basically knew what I was buying it for. Let's talk about the type of people who are buying firearms for the first time. What kind of people are you seeing come in?
Beginning in August, I started to see a change in the clientele that we had coming in. And by that I mean there was a sharp increase in first-time gun buyers, even to the point where many of them were first-time shooters. And on any given day, to this day, I would say that, particularly on the handgun counter, that anywhere between 25 and 50% of our customers fall into that first-time category.
Wow.
With that. Additionally, I'm also seeing significant buying by our existing gun customers. And at this point, I think we have to get in the balloon and kind of go up 10,000 feet and take a look at the big picture and say, well, what segments are we seeing this increase in and everything? And overwhelmingly, it's in the personal defense. To the point that you just mentioned, Troy, I recall a customer coming in and telling me the story, and I asked him why he was buying the gun. And he said, well, I've lived in this community for 30 years. He said, never had an issue. And, within the last 2 weeks, we've had 8 homicides within a block and a half of my house.
Wow.
He said, and with the rioting that we see on TV and the seemingly unchecked or unable to, whatever it is with city officials, to stop that, people are connecting the dots and they're saying, well, what if that's coming down my street? Okay, what do I do? And they're realizing that they're going to be the first responders if and when that happens. I need to take responsibility for my own protection and that of my loved ones.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So for me as a first-time buyer, there was a kind of a learning curve, especially when it came to handguns. What do people need to know when they're going in to purchase a gun?
Well, I would say this. That if you were to ask me and say, what kind of vehicle should I buy? I wouldn't tell you. And the reason I do that is my wife drives a Lexus, I drive a truck. She doesn't drive my truck, and I don't drive her Lexus. And both are very nice vehicles, but the truck just isn't for her, and the car isn't for me. And in the same vein, Troy, I would say, I can't tell you what gun to get. Only you know that. Don't listen to somebody or a salesperson or a friend that says, get this kind of gun. What you want to do is you want to find somebody that's skilled that can guide you through that process and help you determine what's the right gun for you. And you make that decision for yourself. And, people buy firearms for a variety of reasons. One is that they might be hunting or varmint control or something like that. Second one would be recreational shooting. That could be anything from going to the range, plinking, or competition, shooting clays, or defensive pistol shooting, or something like that, long-range shooting, for example. And the last one is personal defense. There's a number of things that you might want to consider. Recognize that you may need maybe more than one gun to satisfy your uses.
Yeah, it's a tool, right?
It's a tool. That's
so
right.
You don't have just a straight-edge screwdriver in your toolkit.
Yep.
Because when you get to a Phillips head,
or a Star Tooth, or an Allen, or
right, you're going to need
something different. That's exactly right.
Okay.
Also, what kind of action? Do I want a revolver? Do I want a semi-automatic? Do I want a bolt?
Explain action real quick.
Okay, the way the gun operates, if you will, it's the same thing as an automatic transmission or a stick shift or what have you.
Yep.
It can be semi-automatic that cycles and loads it. It can be a revolver. It could be a...
we call those wheel guns sometimes too, right?
A wheel gun, yeah.
So it spins, right?
Yep, and with the cylinder in it, it could be a bolt-action rifle.
So it's kind of
a muzzle loader, a breech loader.
You think of like deer hunting guns, a lot of the old, not old school, but yeah.
Right. So
lever action, like the old 30.
Lever action, that's another one. Yeah.
And like my shotgun is a pump action, right?
Yes.
So when I pump it, that's when the ammo is put into the chamber.
That's right.
And the other one's ejected.
And you cock it at the same time.
Right. I'm cocking the hammer, the internal mechanisms. Yeah. Cool.
So consider all those things. Consider the caliber, the gauge that you're looking for. The size of the gun. How does it fit? And certainly, how are you going to store that? First of all, safely. Minnesota has done a great job of cracking down on negligent storage of guns,
sure.
And so I'm thankful for that as well. But,
I know ours like right away came with a cable lock, and that's like the minimal kind of deal, right?
And then if you're using the gun for self-defense or home protection, and that you need to have the gun quickly accessible.
Right.
So that's a whole different thing. And I think also it's important to recognize in these times that you may not be able to buy everything in one trip. So my suggestion, if your end game is to get fully equipped, the fastest path to that would be buy what's available today. Maybe the gun, the ammo might be next week. A holster or something else might be later. But recognize that things have to come in piecemeal.
Yep.
And ideally, shoot the gun first before you buy it, so you know it feels comfortable and you can shoot it well. And more importantly, before you shoot the gun, get some good training in it.
Yep. So pro tip, or I'm not a pro, but you are. You can rent guns.
Yes.
A lot of people, the thing I found when we went, Amy and I went, we had a friend who had about 4 or 5 different guns. And then I found ammo through another friend, because we had to find 9mm ammo, and he gave me a couple guns to take. So we had like 6 or 7 guns that we tried out. Hammer fire, striker fire, all 9mm. And it was great because we got to try some different guns. And we didn't need to even rent guns. But most gun ranges have a program, and if you tell them, hey, we're just researching, I'm a new gun buyer, they'll help you. Because we went and did that, we tried out all those guns, we kind of knew what we wanted. And we ended up buying a gun that we hadn't shot, but it was very similar to the other ones we shot. And so we knew that it was going to be a good fit for us. Okay, so you mentioned training. Why is training important?
Well, for the same reason that you just don't jump in a car and drive in rush hour, you get some training on how to properly operate and safely operate that vehicle. When you consider operating a handgun, you need to be able to effectively if you're going to evaluate that gun for purchase, you need to operate it properly. You need to know how to hold it for proper recoil management. You need to know how to cycle the trigger so that you can shoot it accurately. You need to know how to get this correct sight picture with that. And I get a lot of people that say, I'm just going to use it for home defense. I don't think I'll ever carry it. Well, you still need to go get proper training, because if you ever have to use that gun against a violent encounter, lethal force in that, you better know when it's justified, and more importantly, when it's not justified to use that lethal force.
So are you suggesting that the carry class is a good place to start?
It's an excellent place to start. I would say that, just in regular handgun training, the DNR offers a great training course and that can be for both youth and adults. I remember taking that course for the first time when I was in my mid-60s. And as long as I'd been shooting and hunting and everything, I took it because I had to get an elk hunting license out in Colorado, and I needed that course. And it was a great course.
I took, I think it was in Boy Scouts or something, we all took this gun safety class. I mean, the main thing I learned is muzzle control.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Which we can talk a little bit about. You can have a whole episode on just muzzle control. But is that the cardinal sin for you?
That is.
And there's 4 big rules, right?
4 big ones. One is you treat every gun as if it's loaded. Number 2 is that you keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to use it. Number 3 is that you always keep the muzzle pointed in a safe direction. And number 4 is always be aware of your target from the muzzle on out to infinity.
So that muzzle piece, that's even if you know that it's unloaded, right? Make sure you really watch where you're pointing the gun, because that's a big deal.
Yes.
And I think, especially at your store, there's people on the other side of the counter. It's a kind of an island. So you really have to think about where you're pointing this thing and make sure that you're not, and I noticed even in class when you were doing it, you did this thing where you kind of, like, you were very intentional about, like, it's almost robotic, where you're kind of like pointing this thing.
If you should ever have an unintended or accidental discharge, at least it goes in a safe direction.
Right.
Okay, so if any of the others fail, then you're covered there. I would say a close corollary to that is keep your finger off the trigger.
Yeah.
I see people trying to rack slides with their finger in the trigger, or load guns either at the range during qualification or in the store.
Sure.
And those are ones that I point out to people, whether they're experienced or not experienced. Do it in a kind way.
There's a lot of safeties built into most modern guns, or all modern guns, but the biggest safety is making sure your finger's not on the trigger.
That's exactly it.
Right. It just sets above it, and once you get the target and you know that it's a target that you want to shoot, that's when your finger goes in. Yeah. Good word. Bill, I really appreciate you taking time. I know you weren't super excited. You're like, I don't know if I want to do the video thing. And I was like, hey, I got you. I'll bring the energy, you bring the expertise. And so I really appreciate you, brother. I'm looking forward to learning more from you. And hopefully you'll do this thing again. Once you see this episode, you'll go, hey, maybe I can do this.
I enjoyed it, and thanks for having me.
All right, brother. Blessings. We'll see you next time on New Gun Guy 2020. Bonus question.
Okay.
Maybe this will be afterward. It'll be like what they call an Easter egg.
All right.
So, Bill, what's your favorite gun?
Troy, that would be the one in my hand when I need it.
Nice. I like that. Oh, that's good. All right. And stop.